On October 5th of this year, after winning a Supreme Court appeal to have his preacher present during his execution, not just to pray, but to physically touch his body, convicted murderer John Henry Ramirez has been executed. This was reported by the coroner at 6:41 p.m. local time in Huntsville, Texas. The course of the events took place over 14 minutes, and yes, that preacher that made so many national headlines was present. We did a lot of research at Arizona State University and Kansas State University to get a feel for how students feel not only about the Ramirez case, but about the death penalty as a whole, and whether or not that Ramirez should be able to have his preacher in person with him while he is executed. Through our research, we found that 4 out of 5 students were against the Ramirez execution and against the death penalty as a whole, while all of the students were for his appeal to allow his preacher to be present during the execution. We brought in one of these students to give us a little bit of his time and explain his thoughts about the case. So we are going to bring in the Merit Honor student from Arizona State University and prison advocate due to his time in prison as a youth and due to his perspective about what really happens behind bars. So please welcome into the studio Cordero Holmes. Thank you so much for joining us, Cordero. My first question for you, Cordero, because we don't have a lot of time, is going to relate to how you feel about the judge's obligation and right or no right to be able to overturn a sentence or harshen a sentence. Can you go ahead and go into that a little bit for us, Cordero?
Based on my understanding of the judge and his duties on the bill, I'm correct, is that he's there to determine if the sentence is adequate. Because I have heard of circumstances where an individual, he gets found guilty, right? He gets found guilty, and then he signs a plea, per se, from this point to this point, and then the judge decides right then and there that because of, let's say, the lack of remorse that the defendant is showing, he decides to give the defendant more time. So if they could do that, I'm sure they could overturn it. But I also do know circumstances where an individual by the name of Chris Young, who was sentenced in a 3-strike rule in federal appeal court, and the judge had to abide to those mandatory sentences, and instead of just overturning it because he believed that he couldn't do it, he stepped down from being a federal judge, which is like I think a lifetime appointment, and then helped Chris Young get out of jail.
First of all, thank you, Cordero, for that incredible real-life experience that we can relate back to this case and honestly to the justice system as a whole. So thank you for that perspective. We obviously have a much longer interview up on our website at mdreyfus.wix.com. Be sure to check that out because that's all the time we have for this segment. So thank you so much for your time, Cordero, and back to you, Tom.